This is ITV News with Raghi Omar.
Good evening. Israel's stated aims in its war in Gaza remains elusive tonight, 6 months to the day since the Hamas assault which sparked the current conflict. Then 1,200 Israelis were killed. In the months since, more than 33,000 Palestinians have died. Benjamin Netanyahu today claimed Israel to be a step away from victory. But the Israeli Prime Minister faces growing disillusion at home and abroad. From Tel Aviv, here's our senior international correspondent, John Irvine.
The leaves they're picking are used in herbal medicine and don't provide much sustenance. However, this family in northern Gaza should soon get proper food because humanitarian aid is no longer a bargaining chip at the negotiating table. While starvation did not make Israel's enemies in Hamas blink, it did make its allies in Washington do so. And consequently, having scared off most aid agencies, Israel has been forced by the Americans to take more responsibility for ensuring that Gaza gets fed. These pictures were filmed in Rafah, the next bone of contention, because fearing a civilian bloodbath, President Biden opposes Israel's planned offensive to defeat Hamas in this, its last redoubt. Today's assertion by Mr. Netanyahu that Israel is one step from victory seemed doubtful, given the unexpected IDF withdrawal from southern Gaza with Rafah still unconquered. A pullout is a key Hamas demand, and during last week's testy phone call, Mr. Biden told the Israeli Prime Minister to empower his negotiators to conclude a deal without delay. That's what these protesters want as well. The demonstrators here in Tel Aviv last night included relatives of some remaining hostages. They accused their government of impeding the negotiations that could set their loved ones free. American ultimatums have forced Israel to change tack, and tonight it's unclear where exactly this war goes from now on. 6 months ago, Israel's declared war aims were to destroy Hamas, bring the hostages home, and wash its hands of Gaza. Today, the terror group remains unbeaten, 130 hostages remain captive, and Israel finds itself largely responsible for enabling Gazans to eat, sleep, and drink. As well as that, the Israeli government's hitherto begrudging attitude towards famine prevention is burning through much of whatever global legitimacy its Gaza campaign has left. John Irvine, ITV News, Tel Aviv.
Well, the UK, a staunch ally of Israel, is among countries upping the international scrutiny of the IDF's military campaign. The Deputy Prime Minister says the UK is continuing to push on Israel's conduct, but insists there remains a strong legal basis for continuing to supply arms. Meanwhile, at a service in London, families of Israeli hostages describe their continuing pain over missing relatives, as Ellie Pitt reports.
In a synagogue 3,000 miles from the war, British veterans and actors gathered to support the families of those held hostage in Gaza.
He's my only uncle.
Ayala doesn't know if her uncle is still alive.
Our life cannot be normal again until we have something about my uncle. I'm just dealing with this. I'm just, thinking about him all the time since I wake up in the morning until I'm going to sleep. I have nightmares.
But 6 months into this war, the destruction left by Israel's military campaign is facing increasing scrutiny. And the Israel Defence Forces killing of 3 British aid workers last week has shaken UK political support. Writing in the Sunday Times today, Lord Cameron said, "Our backing is not unconditional. We expect such a proud and successful democracy to abide by international humanitarian law." And whether Israel is following that international law is a question UK opposition parties now want answering.
There are real concerns that there have been breaches in international humanitarian law, and if there's a clear risk, according to our laws and rules, we must suspend arms sales.
The Deputy Prime Minister insists Britain's legal position is sound.
People are getting more aid in. We're continuing to push them on that, continuing to push on the conduct of the conflict, but we believe that, we still have a strong legal basis for providing those arms to Israel.
These families are looking for political certainty to keep the hope they'll see their loved ones again. Ellie Pitt, ITV News.
And there is more from John Irvine in his blog. He's written about the war in Gaza 6 months on and how the Israelis are still yet to achieve their primary goals. That's all on our website, itv.com/news. Now here, a manhunt is underway tonight after a woman pushing her baby in a pram was fatally stabbed in Bradford yesterday afternoon. Police have urged the public to report sightings of 25-year-old Habibur Massoum. He is wanted on suspicion of murder. Our correspondent Sejil Kara is here. Sejil, it's all just very strange and quite upsetting.
Yes, Raggy, this was a shocking attack on a young mother pushing her baby in a pram when she was stabbed by a man who then ran off. She later died in hospital and she is yet to be named. And police are now looking for Habibur Massoum, a man they say was known to the victim with links to various parts of the north of England, including Burnley, Oldham and Chester. And police say if you see him, don't approach him, but call 999 immediately. He was seen, pictured on CCTV, wearing a distinctive jacket and light blue or grey tracksuit bottoms and maroon trainers. The attack took place on a busy junction in the Westgate area of Bradford on a Saturday afternoon. Police did find a knife here, but they cannot say whether Mr. Massoum is armed. Tonight, the manhunt to find him is underway, and they are urging anyone who sees him to contact them immediately.
Sejil, thank you very much indeed. Now, some other news, and police investigating the grim discovery of a human torso wrapped in plastic and found at a nature reserve in Salford have arrested a 20-year-old man. He remains in custody on suspicion of murder. Detectives said today they are still trying to identify the victim. And separately in South London, a man and woman have been arrested following the discovery of human remains in a park. Officers were called to Rowden Fields in Croydon on Tuesday. The suspects, aged 44 and 48, were detained yesterday on suspicion of murder. To Rwanda now, where exactly 30 years ago genocide erupted, with up to 1 million people killed in the 100 days that followed. Extremists carried out a killing spree against the Tutsi minority and Hutu moderates. Well, today's sombre commemorations in the Rwandan capital, Kigali, saw leaders from around the world joining a day of remembrance in order to honour the victims. The country's president told dignitaries Rwanda was humbled by the magnitude of its loss. On to sport, and another twist in the Premier League title race tonight. Liverpool's bid to go back to the top was derailed by their old rivals Manchester United in a dramatic match at Old Trafford. Chris Scudder was watching.
There's nothing United want more than to stop Liverpool drawing level with their record tally of 20 English titles. Liverpool, knowing a win would take them top, were first to strike through Luis Diaz. The title favourites could have been out of sight by half-time, and the boss, never one to hide his emotions, knew it. His mood was not improved by an extraordinary moment of self-destruction.
Given away by Kwanzaa, hit by
One of the most bizarre moments of the season, punished ruthlessly by Bruno Fernandes. And if that took the roof off, Kobbie Mainoo then brought the house down.
And Mainoo! Oh, beauty!
A superb goal cheered by Liverpool's title rivals Arsenal and Man City, but not by Jurgen Klopp. But the drama wasn't done. Penalty to Liverpool, and who else but Mo Salah saved the day.
Rises to the moment again.
Still, 2-2 meant 2 points dropped, and they end the weekend off the top of the table. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
Well, Tottenham have moved up to 4th place tonight into the Champions League places. Dutchman Mickey van der Ven scored a spectacular goal as Spurs beat relegation-threatened Nottingham Forest 3-1. And Spurs are tonight paying tribute to former player Joe Kinnear, who's died at the age of 77. The Irishman in the centre here was part of the Tottenham team that won 2 League Cups, an FA Cup and UEFA Cup in the 60s and 70s. He went on, of course, to manage Wimbledon, Luton, Nottingham Forest and Newcastle United. Kinnear, who had been living with dementia since 2015, was described today as a football legend. He died peacefully this afternoon, surrounded by his family. And finally, it's taken him a year. He's lapped up 10,000 miles in the progress. Now Ross Cook from Worthing in West Sussex has completed his mammoth challenge, running the entire length of Africa. And in doing so, he proved more than his credentials as the so-called hardest geezer, taking over 19 million steps to pass through 16 countries, having already raised more than £500,000. His fundraising page appeared to crash earlier due to what the website called a spike in traffic after his finish. And that's it from us tonight. I'll be back at 10:05 with a late update. From now, to the weekend team, goodbye.